right, looks like we are live and ready to get started. Happy new moon. Happy All Hallows Moss, All Hallows Eve, Halloween portal. Happy Dia de los Muertos, Day of the Dead. Happy All Saints Day, All Souls Day. What am I leaving out? Blessed Diwali, Blessed Samhain, of course, and Blessed Scorpio New Moon. Whew, there is a lot of energy going on right now, whether you are into astrology or you are just into celebrating the holidays at hand. And we're going to touch base on a good portion of all of it tonight, best I can, whatever I can pack into about 45 minutes to an hour for this virtual new moon circle. But before we officially get started, I did want to take a moment to introduce myself in case you are tuning into the recording here. So, of course, if you are here live in the 13 Moons membership, you already know who I am, but I do take edited versions of these circles and put them on my website, my podcast, my YouTube, clips on my social media. And so I do want to take a moment to introduce myself, just in case this is the first time that you have tuned into one of my moon circles. My name is Vina Lene Rachel. I am a moon priestess. I'm an intuitive or a medium and or potato. I'm a little bit of both. I'm also a channeler of the divine overall. And this is what my spiritual name, Vina, means. Some people also go by some people also call me Rachel, and that is what I go by in the common modern day world. And some people even call me Mother Moon because of my studio, Mother Moon Yoga. But however you know me, I have been doing moon circles for about 8 to 9 years at the point of this recording, best I can. I've had a kid in that time, and I've had some other things happen, but I've done my best to tune in to you through the ether and tell you a little bit about these new moons and full moons that we go through every month or every month. And I'm excited to share with you tonight information about the Scorpio new moon. So tonight we will not only cover this new moon being in Scorpio, but we'll also touch base on how it's all aligning with Halloween and Samhain and Diwali, which are all really interesting holidays to happen at this point in time. This doesn't always happen this way. It happens to be very auspicious alignment that you have right now. We're also going to talk about the concept of kind of like shadow season or the veil being thin. We'll talk about what it means to do shadow work. We're also going to touch base on Pluto, which is Scorpio's ruling planet, because there's a lot happening with Pluto right now, as well as Mars, which is another planet related to Scorpio energy. We will touch base on other cosmic transits, the Vedic astrology of this moon. So from the Eastern perspective, it's a little bit different from the Western or more tropical zodiac perspective. And we will do some additional things if you're here live in the 13 Moons membership. So welcome to all of our members. And if you're watching the replay, you want to know about joining 13 Moons, you can go to my website to check all of that out. And there is always a free trial offered. So if you are in the membership tonight, in addition to all I just mentioned, oh, and we'll also do a tarot reading for the collective. That'll be here for everyone. But if you're here in the membership, I will be pulling individual cards for our members. I'm also going to do a special Samhain tarot reading. We are going to pull a card for the themes of the month for the next year, just to get a little bit of guidance, a little bit ahead for this next year. Of course, if you're celebrating Samhain, you probably do consider yourself a witch or a wizard or some sort of magical manifester and magical manipulator and magical crafter. And with that, we do consider this the witch's new year. And so we want to celebrate that, and we want to look to this year ahead and already start setting these intentions as we typically do with a new moon. I'm also going to introduce all of you members to the practice of scrying. So looking into reflective surfaces, seeing what you discover, what's being shown to you, and we'll see if that also gives you any guidance underneath this Scorpio moon. So before we go any further, let's take a moment just to slow down. New moons are a time of turning more within, finding more grounding, connecting to gravity. And this is a watery moon with this Scorpio energy. So we really want to make sure that we are finding more of our center and we are feeling more level with wherever we are. So let's take the breath into this. Let's inhale into the nose and then exhale out through the mouth. And maybe just at the bottom of that breath, as you breathe again, you maybe shake it out, you loosen up, you let go, and just settle into a more comfortable space. I always encourage you to show up to these circles as you are, nice and cozy and comfortable, so that you can really focus and pay attention, kind of letting go of the distractions around you or maybe within you. So, with this next breath, can you inhale through the nose? Hold it there, maybe sip in a little bit more through the nose. And as you exhale, maybe get a little sound involved. Just letting go there, vibrating the throat chakra. Again, maybe shaking things out as you continue to breathe. This also helps to vibrate our vagus nerve, which calms our nervous system down, moves us into more of a focused behavior, also helps us to, again, let go of the external distractions. On this last breath, if you'd like, you could reach your arms out or up, maybe overhead. Really stretch out, open up, create room for the inhale, and then sip in that breath through the nose. Maybe you can even bring in more and more. When you're ready to let it go, maybe vibration as you let the arms down. And invite yourself into the present. Let yourself be here now. As you prepare to be here now, maybe you also have some other things at hand in this circle tonight. Maybe you have something to drink. So I do have my water here just to stay hydrated. I do suggest that you connect to a lot of water right now, not only because it's a watery moon, Scorpio being that water sign, but new moons tend to bring us down into our human body, the human emotional experience, and all of this human stuff that we're feeling. So it's a good time to really flush with water, which helps us cleanse out both physically and energetically. And hang on, as I clear the throat, it also helps to thin any mucus that we may be experiencing right now during harvest season. My allergies have been a little wacky since I've come back from Florida, and that's because we're going into harvest season right now, and there's just a lot in the air. There is a lot of wind in the air stirring around right now. And, we've had a lot of weather also bringing in a mix up of whatever is in the atmosphere. And so, with that, maybe you want to drink some more water, or maybe you just want to bring in the concept of water, take in more to help you open up, become more fluid, or connect to the water element in general. You might also want to have something to write with tonight, because if you are in the membership and you are getting your tarot reading or learning how to practice scrying, you are going to maybe write down whatever comes through so that you can remember it. Of course, you do get the full unedited recording of this circle in your membership fairly quickly after the transmission is over. You don't really have to wait that long. But if you want to go ahead and have that now, if you're here live, make sure that you have something to write with. The other thing that you might want to have tonight, if you do have it available, is a candle to light, or a diwa, or a lamp, or a jack-o'-lantern, or any sort of light. Now, I don't have any fire around me. I actually just didn't want to light any sort of fire. I also think I'm just having hindsight and remembering right now, in the spirit of Scorpio being represented also by an eagle, having hindsight is 2020. And we did trick-or-treating last night, right, with my 5-year-old, and we did a lot of walking around, and there were like fog machines, and we were outside where there's like the harvest and the wind, and there was just a lot of fog and dry ice and all kinds of things we were exposed to. And so yeah, I'm sure that I'm just having a little bit of response to that as well. But anyway, I also suggest that you have something to light, because this is a time to bring in more light. It is Diwali, which is the festival of lights, where we light oil lamps or candles or any sort of lantern or light that we can. Also during Samhain, we can light candles for protection, candles for different spells, candles for intention, and there's different colors of candles that you can use, by the way. And I will try to get that into our membership for the members if you want to check that out. I have a lot of things in there for Samhain. Actually, I think it is in your Samhain magical practices or additional practices. We talk about the candles in there, and I mention what colors you can use for different intentions. So I'm not going to waste time here, but you can do that as well. But if you can't light a candle, maybe you just have some lights right now to light up in your house. I know a lot of people are starting to put up their holiday decorations already, like your Christmas decorations. And honestly, I put up my Christmas tree a month ago, and I put a couple of tablecloths over it. I just like cheap tablecloths from the Dollar Tree. I did a couple of black ones and then a white one over it and cut holes in it, made it into a, lit up ghost. And we're going to spend this weekend transitioning over into more of like harvest and holiday time. But this is a wonderful time to bring more lights into your home, however you want to do it. So if you want to light a candle right now and go ahead and bring in more light to the circle, you can. The beautiful thing about this ether is, although we can't see these candles that are being lit right now, we are receiving the energy of them. And even if you're tuning into the replay, you're going to receive the energy of the candles that are being lit right now with such beautiful, pure, positive, magical intention to really uplift and lighten our frequency here. I think that's all of the suggestions that I would have for you tonight in Circle. I would like to go further and just introduce some elements that you might want to work with tonight or anytime during this Scorpio lunar portal, or during this lunar cycle, or during Scorpio season even. I always like to introduce the elements so that you know different magical tools that you may want to utilize. And even if you don't have these right now, remember that everything has an energy, everything has a frequency. So you're going to receive these energies that these positive elements want to give to you if you are ready to receive them, even if you're here live or you're tuning into the replay. I always like to start with crystals or gemstones. And first, I would suggest maybe working with turquoise, which I'm wearing around my neck right now. So you'll just receive that. And it's also around my throat chakra. So you're receiving that vibration of the turquoise through my voice anyway. But turquoise is a birth gemstone of Scorpio. And Scorpio is a sign of life, death, rebirth, transformation. Going a bit into death and the underworld, also ruled by Pluto, that outer lying planet in our zodiac, maybe a planet, maybe not. In astrology, we consider it a planet, but it is representative of also the underworld and power and control, whether we choose to let go or not. And turquoise helps us with healing, helps us to let go of any traumas, any wounds that maybe we're holding onto energetically that we don't need to. We're holding onto them in a negative way. Turquoise helps you to transform that energy into more positive intention. And anytime you just hold the intention of healing, you're really harboring love and unconditional acceptance. Because one way or another, you want to let go of these other things in the shadows of your past, right? In your shadow self, your shadow sides. And you can't do that without love. So as soon as you set the intention to heal, you start to move into that space of healing. But if you'd like to initiate that healing, maybe in a more accelerated way, you can utilize turquoise in your lunar times right now. I would also suggest working with Labradorite, which is actually holding up the phone I'm using to transmit to you right now. But I also have this palm stone of Labradorite, And I'm going to give you some nice reflection there. You can see the shine, the sheen. I love Labradorite. It's only found in Labrador, Canada. And it also is found from particles that come from out of this world. So it helps to connect us to the ether, to things that are beyond this planet, maybe bringing in the concepts of angels, deities, archangels, cosmic beings, cosmic source energy, our ancestors, anything beyond this like physical earthly realm that we can connect to give us more guidance. Labradorite can help to enhance and strengthen that connection. Right now, the veil is extremely thin because it is the Day of the Dead. It is Samhain. It is Diwali. It is a new moon, not only just a new moon, but a new moon in Scorpio. And all of these relate to dispelling darkness with light, letting go of the ego, believing in things beyond what we can see or feel. I've been teaching my son about the senses. So these are things that maybe we feel in our inner senses or our sixth sense, and we can't necessarily connect to in those five senses. But whatever we're trying to connect to, and you don't even have to have a label to it, maybe we're just trying to connect to energy, maybe energy beyond us or just our own energy, which is, originally made of star stuff. We can bring in Labradorite. Also, any sort of black stone for protective energy right now, or tiger's eye. And I don't have any tiger's eye on me right now because I'm feeling very protective. But around my neck, I do have this black tulsi, which is holy basil. I also have here in front of me some black tourmaline, which helps to absorb negative energy. I also have jet for protection from any juju, voodoo, negative energy, ill intention. Also have obsidian, which is sometimes called Apache's tears as well, especially if you have rainbow obsidian. I couldn't find my rainbow obsidian right now. Of course, I don't need it. Don't really feel like I'm grieving. I actually feel like I'm in a pretty elevated state of joy right now, but obsidian is another protective stone. All of these are protective stones that help to absorb negative energy and dispel that darkness and kind of move it away so that we could really harbor our light, harbor our joy, find fun right now, find hope, faith, trust, belief. We've had a lot going on, right? Like we've had these hurricanes. If you're here in North America, there's been flooding in Spain. There's just been a lot of weather in general. We have the politics going on, right? We have the wars going on. We have a lot going on that can be kind of in that really human experience, can be a drag. And we're moving to the holiday season and we want to try to embrace positivity throughout it all because we are probably spending more time with family. Maybe we have some work obligations, some things that we don't really want to give our energy to, but we want to show up as our best self, right? So we bring in these stones like black tourmaline, jet, obsidian, to tulsi to not only protect us, but to help us be protected from any of that energy that might be a bit of a vampire of our happiness. We're moving into times of darkness as well. These stones remind us that there's benefits in the black, there's benefits in the darkness, there's benefits in the shadows as well. We have to trust in that. And that is shadow work. It's going into maybe the memories, the thoughts, the traumas, the wounds, the things that we have experienced that we don't really want to think about. And we learn to ask ourselves, what did we learn from that? How did we grow from that? How did we develop from that? What is the wisdom? What is the lesson? How are we better versions of ourselves from all of that? So, not only do all of these black stones and crystals help to move you into more of that mindset, but they also just help to keep all the negativity away kind of for good, right? They're grieving stones as well. And sometimes we need to grieve past versions of ourselves that hold on to that victim state, that trauma state, and move into this version of ourselves that holds all of that with love, with acceptance, with almost gratitude, if not gratitude. We're working towards that. At least that's the goal. So, those are some of the stones that I would suggest using tonight. Also, if you're in 13 moons, you can use any sort of these stones that provide a dark reflective surface. I have a black moonstone sphere here. I'll talk about that more down the road here. But even the labradorite, I think, is a great scrying stone if you wanted to use that. In addition to those earthly materials, I also suggest utilizing air energy. Usually, we do this with smoke or smudge. Today, I'm using aromatherapy, which also still brings in that concept of the element of fire because it takes fire to steam distill the plants, the plant material, to collect the oil to create the aromatic product. We're also connecting to the earthly material still because we use those plants, those trees, those roots, those flowers, etc., to create the essential oil. I like creating room sprays or smudging sprays, not only to protect energy or clear air, but also as a great substitute to smudging. I mentioned right now my allergies are a little bit elevated and triggered because we're in harvest season and I'm here in the Midwest. So I didn't really want to light up a bunch of smoke in my room right now. Also, we just got a puppy about a couple of weeks ago. And that's why we didn't have a moon circle a couple of weeks ago with the Aries full moon, because I was in Florida celebrating a bit of my birthday, but also we were adding a puppy to our family and I was picking up that puppy. And she's sensitive and I don't want to have all this smoke going through the house right now because I don't want to trigger her. So smudging spray it is. And this one is called Merry and Bright. It has got a little bit of those fall scents like your clove, your cinnamon. I think there's cassia in there as well. And by the way, cassia and clove are great substitutes for cinnamon. So if you don't, you kind of want that spice, but you don't have the cinnamon, or if you're like me, you're allergic to cinnamon. It's okay when it's kind of diluted down in a big mix like this, but those are great substitutes, cassia and clove. This also has vanilla in it and a little bit of citrus because those are uplifting scents, mood boosting scents. They also harmonize our mood as well. So they help elevate anything that's lower frequency, and they also help to bring down like any anxious or heightened sensations that we don't really need to be going through right now. So I'm going to take this, give it a good shake just to mix it up, clear my throat so I don't inhale it. And I'm just going to give that a little spritzy spritz all around me, to you, and to everything that we're using. And it's like, but Rachel, is it kind of ridiculous to spray the electronics with a little bit of spritzy spritz? I've never really had an issue with it. And modern day phones are usually supposed to be waterproof, right? So I don't really see an issue with that. And it's not like I'm going to let it just like build up a film there. I do like wipe off my phone and clean my phone on a regular basis. But I want you to receive the frequencies, oh, it smells so good, of these oils because they do uplift your aura, your energy, your frequency, even if you are receiving it here through the ether. Now, I've mentioned 4 elements already. Really, I've mentioned the 5, but we had our earthly elements with the crystals and the gemstones. The collection of the oils brings in the earthly, also the fire, the air, the water, and the ether is the 5th element. It's this digital space that we're connecting to. It is a wonderful space because it withstands time and physical dimension. That's why you receive the frequency. That's why it doesn't matter if you're getting the replay or not. And it is a space that continues to enhance with its power over time. With that, I want to bring in the guides and guardians of these 5 elements just to enhance our circle more and provide more of a sacred space. You can simply be here to experience this invocation. I want to start by inviting in, as I see an owl in my mind's eye, the guides and guardians of the East, the element of air, the element of change, as every dawn is a new day, every breath is an opportunity to shift. And we are also in a windy, airy time as we are ruled by Vata energy in the season of autumn here in North America. And also, this moon is ruled by the wind god Vayu in Hindu mythology. So we invite in all of this air, this change. We also know that Scorpio brings us into the concept of evolution and transformation, shifts in energy. And so we thank the guides and guardians of the East with their air for being in our circle tonight and supporting us with the changes that we'll move through ahead. We also invite in the guides and guardians of the South with their element of fire. There is a lot of fire on the collective right now as we experience this shift with this lunar portal of Mercury into Sagittarius and Mars into Leo, both fire signs. And we will move into a full super moon, so that energy is going to continue to wax and become more fiery over the next 2 weeks. So we trust in the fire that also helps us with change, transformation, burning away what no longer serves for good. We allow these guides and guardians of the fire to be in our circle tonight and support us in the future ahead. We also invite in the guides and guardians of the West, the element of water. This is a watery, fixed, watery Scorpio moon. And we know that water moves with time and withstands time. It moves beyond time. We know the veil is thin right now. We know that water is also trusting our intuition and our inner energy, inner senses, our magic, our creative flow, our emotional expression, our fluidity, our sexuality, our sensuality. Many of those things that are more on the internal pleasure. We trust in what that can bring us when we really lean into it. Scorpio asks us to move beyond the hardened shell of the Scorpio and move into a softer, more transformative side. So we invite in the guides and guardians of the West with their water to help us with the changes that we make in this lunar portal in the times ahead. We also invite in the guides and guardians of the North with their earthly element. All of these earthly materials we've brought into our circle tonight, the crystals and gemstones, the plant materials, things that we've developed from the plant materials, even our earthly human self and our bloodline that we come from, our ancestors also being a part of this earth energy, being a time when we're honoring the dead and honoring our ancestors. We invite in any guidance they have to bring to us as well right now or in the future ahead. We thank them along with the other guides and guardians of the North with the earth for being in our circle. And we invite in the guides and guardians of the ether, no matter what we call it, what we label it, eventually tracing back to source consciousness, source energy, whatever we need to receive from who and whatever we need to receive, we invite it in now to our circle. We thank it for being present. With that, our circle is officially here, sealed, more sacred. I do want to start with just grabbing a quick drink of water. And if anybody here live has anything they want to say in the chat, I gotta get a little stretch in my neck too. Anything you want to say, any questions, any comments, anything, feel free to put that in there. We are going to dive deeper here in just a moment. Feel free to grab a drink with me too. By the way, I did get a new phone in the past couple of weeks, so pretty sure everything is running smoothly, but don't mind my finger if you're seeing it as I move over here to the chat and just check everything out. Okay, I think we are good. So we have our sacred circle. I want to talk a little bit more about Scorpio energy. It's a really interesting sign. It is related to more of the mystical, the mythological, the magical, the taboo. It is linked to more of the sensual, the sexual, the creative, the artistic, the more fluid. It is also a sign that has three archetypes, which isn't the typical for the zodiac signs. The first one's the scorpion. Most people realize this one. Most people don't realize that there are two other archetypes, but I've already mentioned one, the eagle, and the phoenix is the third. Phoenix being a more mythological creature, but each of these evolves around the concept of transformation. So we have the scorpion first, kind of low lying, kind of more isolating, kind of quick to trigger with a little bit more poison, sting, having this hardened shell, but being very mushy on the inside. Lots of feelings emotionally, a lot of feelings intuitively, a lot of feelings of curiosity and desire to dive into the unknown, the unexplored. And they encourage us to kind of shed that shell of hardening, being so rigid, be more open, be more fluid, be more accepting. And with that, you move into that eagle archetype that can soar a little higher, that can be a little bit more free from the earth, the earthly human experience or conditioning, maybe some wounds, some traumas that have made you feel or act a certain way. You kind of rise above all that. You become more independent and free, as the eagle does represent. But there's still this kind of solo nature, just like the scorpion, kind of a tendency to isolate and maybe only come down to mate or even maybe like eat collectively if you need to hunt collectively, but otherwise kind of doing your own thing. There's still kind of this molting process with the feathers that you need to shed that aren't really taking you where you need to be. But there is this hindsight and this ability to see ahead based on what you have been through behind you. And with that, eventually, maybe you move into that phoenix archetype as you transform completely from the flames, rise up from the ashes, completely different. Now you're this bird that is more magical, more mythological, kind of decides what it does. It has the power of when it wants to combust over and over. I definitely think of Fox in Harry Potter. But it doesn't matter what sign you are. If you are a Scorpio, you can be in one of those archetypes or two or all of them in one lifetime, or maybe you go through various ones life after life. But no matter what sign you're in, you might be experiencing one of those archetypes right now. You might be relating to one of those energies. So embrace that wherever you are, embrace the process, but maybe ask yourself, how can you evolve beyond that? And if you're in that phoenix archetype, are you at the top of your evolution? Of course not. We're always evolving more and more. You're working more towards the next sign, which is Sagittarius. And right now, Mercury has been in Scorpio, but tomorrow, on the 2nd of November, we'll move into, guess what? Sagittarius. Mercury is our planet of communication and expression. It is how we exchange energy. So there's this kind of trade and travel that comes about with this planet as well. And when we have Mercury in Scorpio, there's a lot of secrets being revealed, secrets being told. Can we see that on the collective? Very much so. When Mercury moves into Sagittarius, there is more expression around the needs and wants that bring us joy, how we need to receive more happiness, and also how we need to go after our goals. Whether we're getting more truthful with ourselves, as Sagittarius is a very honest energy, and so is Scorpio. The signs trail off of one another, pick up qualities off of one another. But Sagittarius is also a truth seeker in the way that they hold themselves accountable. They like to set goals and they like to hold themselves to those goals. They are known as the cosmic archer. And we'll talk a little bit more about Sagittarius when we get into the next new moon, the new moon in Sagittarius. But for now, just know that we are moving towards more of what brings us light, what brings us joy, and what helps us to achieve our goals, which also brings us more light and joy overall. Another important shift that's going to happen right now, I already mentioned Mars moving into Leo, that fire energy. Mars is a planet that tends to relate to Scorpio. And this time, this masculine energy of power and control will move into the alpha lion. So don't be surprised if you want to really take charge of your life in the next few weeks to come, if you really want to be in more control, especially if you haven't in the past. One thing that I'm trying to do is be more in control of my own internal energy. I was talking about this with a couple of clients today, how I said that I want to be less burdened by myself. I put too much of a sense of urgency on myself, and I need to kind of let that go. I need to give myself more permission to relax. Not that I don't need to be late or not show up to my goals or obligations or, whatever I'm setting a standard for. But just if I don't get to it because of life, then I don't get to it. And the world will accept that. And that's okay. And I was always feeling very rushed as a child, whether I was always late by my mom or just because I always felt rushed for some reason. I'm trying to really get over that. And I feel like all of this exchange of Pluto moving away from structured, organized, get to it Capricorn into more open, fluid, airy Aquarius is that vibe that we're learning to embrace. It's not easy for all of us, especially if you're kind of a type A. Believe it or not, I still hold on to a little bit of that. If you're type A, it's hard to be more open and flexible and fluid. But I really feel like this new moon is kind of initiating us into that with all of the other cosmic events that are taking place so soon within this lunar portal. Remember that a new moon, the energy is going to last for about 24 to 48 hours before and after the peak. We've experienced the peak just a few hours ago, and we're going to be holding on to that for the next day or two. This is a micro moon, meaning that the moon is not as close to the earth as possible, as possible, as usual, as possible, but it's a little bit farther away. In fact, it's kind of the farthest away that it can be. And with that, we're not feeling the effects as much, but do we need to? We kind of have a lot going on otherwise. Maybe you're celebrating some of these other holidays as well, and maybe that's enough. So we just take into account the idea that this Scorpio moon may have us wanting to change. It may have us emotional. It may have us taking back our power, taking back our control, or we may be becoming more watery, fluid, flexible, because this is a water sign. And being fixed water, it means that it's just water always moving, always flowing, or at least trying to. And I think that's why Scorpio also relates more to the spooky, the witchy, and the taboo and the woo. Because not only does it fall during the seasons of all of these celebrations of the dead, like Halloween and Day of the Dead and All Souls Day, etc., Samhain, it is it's an energy that is always seeking and always curious and kind of isn't afraid to dive into those shadowy places because they've always got to keep their energy moving, even if it's locked up inside. So when they suppress these feelings that they feel so strongly that other people don't seem to feel, they have to have a way to explain it, explore it, feel it, move it. And that's when they start diving into these other worlds of the woo to understand. This is why it is a great time to dive into practices like tarot, which we'll do a tarot reading tonight for the collective. Maybe you get some energy work. Maybe you have your chart read. A lot of Scorpios are attracted to astrology. And by the way, I'm just going to do a quick little plug. Astro School is coming. Yes, if you've wanted to learn astrology from me, it's not going to be your typical, you can learn how to read charts in 6 to 8 weeks. No, it is not. I am a very big truth teller. I have a Sagittarius stellium talking about Sagittarius energy. And by the way, if you don't know what a stellium is, maybe you need to take astro school. But I think it takes a long time to learn astrology. It's something that I am still learning and still understanding, even after 10 plus years of study. And I think that it takes a long time to even understand the basics. So if you want to just understand things without going into more of a being able to read charts professionally, I think you need at least 6 months. Maybe you need more. I think if you want to read charts, I think you need a year, if not more. And that's what I aim to offer you here in the very near future is a college like, more like an online college setting where it takes about a semester at a time, depending on whether you're in astrology 101, 201, 301, for example, to learn what you're trying to learn. So, just saying that because Scorpios are incredibly intrigued about astrology. It explains a lot of the things that can't be really explained on this earthly realm with the earthly tools and techniques that we've tried to use. And yes, we've used astrology for a long time as well, but it's kind of gotten washed out and is now coming back with this age of Aquarius. But dive into divination, the ability to practice other things or dive into other concepts to understand. Get your runes read, go see a psychic, go see a medium, get some energy work done. There's a lot of different ways that you can do it. Tonight, if you're in 13 moons, we're going to practice scrying, and I'm going to give you additional tarot pulls. Let's take a moment to move over into Vedic astrology because I've touched base on this just briefly, but I think it's important to talk about because it matches up with the energy we're in right now about being more fluid, being more flexible. This moon, from an Eastern perspective, is in Swati Nakshatra. And it's represented by a bamboo shoot swaying in the wind or challenged by the wind, and it just kind of bends, it doesn't break. It's kind of like a little yogi plant, and it continues to grow towards its goal of growing. And bamboo can grow in really windy conditions, and that's why it's so sturdy and it's so strong, and it survives a lot of weather conditions as well. This is a word, Swati, that means also independence or sword. So it is a time to free yourself of the mindset that these challenges that you come to in the future can break you. It's time to let go of past experiences where you were broken because that was a past version of yourself. That was a different experience. What you go through now and what you go through in the future, which is always the near now, right? It is meant to challenge you in a different way. So, this moon being in this Swati Nakshatra, it wants you to free yourself of limiting beliefs, glass ceilings. It wants you to continue to grow, continue to glow up, continue to get stronger and more flexible along the way. You might have to bend a little bit as you grow into your whole sturdy self. And that's part of this growth process that we're experiencing right now with this entire lunar cycle. This is a time that we call the shadow time. It's a time when we have to confront our ego, when we have to look into our past, when we have to bring up memories that maybe we've buried, and we have to decide if we're going to surround them with love or not. When we learn to surround them with love and gratitude, we learn to hold what we call agape or metta or self acceptance. And with that surrounding of love, we change our emotional attachment to it. We start to lighten ourselves. We start to elevate. We start to ascend. We start to become more enlightened. That's what this is really all about. We start to emotionally alchemize and turn ourselves into more of a golden state or a golden light, which can feel nothing but joy, abundance, fortune, bliss, ultimately Ananda. So this season is about learning to go with the flow, learning to be flexible with those challenges that come, and maybe lean into the concept of doing and being different, not attaching yourself in the same way. The wind god Vayu in Hindu mythology rules this lunar mansion. And this is also located within the air sign of Libra. Libra is this sign that is always swaying with the scales, but ultimately is working towards inner peace and outer harmony, or vice versa. We're always trying to find more equanimity. And right now, with this moon being there from the Eastern perspective, because remember, it's usually one sign back, it reminds us to also find our center as we sway in the wind. Also, this is a time of maybe darkness, of misunderstandings or not understanding or confusion, or there might be a lot of redirect or smoke and mirrors right now, and it can be hard to make decisions because Libra energy does struggle to make decisions. But try to trust in your inner self and your heart ruled self, because that's what this is all about, finding the center with your energetic and physical, which is the heart, and maybe your more intuitive self, watery self with the Scorpio energy, because that's how we decide to make the decision that aligns with our more higher self, or more higher, you know what I'm trying to say, a more spiritual self. I know that's a lot of words in Libra fashion. I am a Libra, but I hope that makes sense. Maybe let me know if it doesn't in the chat. Okay, let's go back to the Western side of the world for just a minute. Let's talk about Samhain before we dive deeper into our membership side of things, before we go into our tarot reading as well. Samhain is the witch's new year. This is a time when we are moving into the concept of not only honoring our ancestors, but also healing our bloodline. So we can look back at the gifts and the magic that our ancestors gave us, as well as maybe the wisdoms and the lessons over the behaviors that we don't want to carry along. I would just like to share a personal story because it goes with the energy of tonight and also the energy of sharing stories about ancestors. I don't have a lot of connection with my side of the family. We have a lot of connection with my husband's side of the family, and now we have a 5-year-old, and I want him to know about my side of the family as he grows up. My father, if you don't know, or if this is your first or few times tuning in and you don't know this, I lost my father back in 2012, and my mother, although alive, is basically dead to me, and has been since I was 14 years old. She does know I am alive. She does not know where I live. I will not open up that portal. I've been told not to after doing my own shadow work and mother wound healing. I've been told it's a dangerous situation, so I am staying away, as I got away many, many, many moons and years ago, as I was told intuitively to get away. But don't have a lot of connection to my family. My father, however, I was very close to, and he was the one that raised me most of all. And I have this tattoo on my arm that represents more than just my father, but all of my ancestors in a way that I really want to hold on to in this life. So I actually have, in honor of the Scorpio new moon, I have the Scorpio constellation on my arm. So you can see kind of the end of it there, the stinger of the Scorpio with the stars, and then it starts to morph around. Shout out to my tattoo artist, into roses and thorns for the rest of the stars that make up the Scorpio constellation. I also have a little scorpion. There he is, little golden scorpion on the rose that represents my Scorpio father, who was very soft, who was very emotional, but had a very hardened life. And I keep this tattoo in this way to represent him, because the very end of the Scorpio constellation, the stinger, is right where my dad had to inject himself with his life-saving medication on a regular basis every few days for hemophilia. And it's also the connected to my little vein there, because it is a blood related condition genetically that I have inherited from my father as well. In addition to that, these roses represent my grandmothers on both sides of my family because they both used to love flowers and love roses and grew them and were very green thumbed, and they were Virgos. And the rose represents that Virgo energy. And I just so happen to have 3 roses that aren't quite bloomed out on here. And that represents the 3 siblings my son would have had, the 3 daughters that I have lost through pregnancy. And I had to really talk about healing shadow and healing wound. I had a really interesting experience with my Reiki master the last time that I had a Reiki experience with her. And it's interesting because we met again recently and we did not have time to do work on each other. And I think maybe now in hindsight, again, in that spirit of the eagle, I just don't think it was meant to be. I don't think that we needed it at the time. I don't know if she agrees, but I feel like now that like maybe we just didn't need it, that the work that we had done before was strong enough. But when she did work on me previously, the last time I met with her, she connected to my 3 daughters that I had lost. And I had never really given voice to that. I never really said for sure that like I had thought I knew that they were girls, all of them, but I just knew in my heart. And she connected me to them. And it was so emotional, but so healing because after that, they were holding hands. I'll never forget this. She mentioned that they were holding hands and they were spinning around, they were dancing. And then it was almost like my inner child was there as well. And we did a lot of work about anger and frustration with my inner child. But then after that, it was like my inner child was there dancing with those girls. And I have this tattoo that was put on my body long before I had that experience. But I think that by bringing in this portal of just kind of like opening up the concept of like this physical pain, it also released some emotional stuff that was locked up in my bloodline, in the pain of what I was feeling in my own body and my health and wellness that was causing these losses, whatever it was. It brought in a lot of healing. So I bring up this story because I also feel like my son, who is my miracle, who is the crystal that I created in my own cave. I always say I am the cave and he is the crystal. I always thought that all of this work that I was doing spiritually was to heal kind of my maternal bloodline and the wounds there and the karmic stuff and just all of it. And I realized also with my Reiki Master Attunement a year ago in November during Scorpio season that I was healing my father's bloodline because there were some other things going on. It's a long story, but my son is perfectly healthy, does not have hemophilia, does not have this blood disease. He's so healthy. He's growing like crazy. He's actually in the 97th percentile for height. We just checked. He's definitely an indigo child. I was told he was going to be that way before he was born. He has a lot of intuitive gifts. He's so loving and outwardly and emotionally expressive. And I had this epiphany today with this celebration of all these holidays of the dead that I am really healing the bloodline of my father's father, and his father, who also has my son's namesake, through this whole process of just having him and being here and nurturing him and letting him be the way he is. I'm healing myself. I'm healing my inner child. I'm healing all my parental wounds. I'm healing the bloodline. And I'm healing ultimately the divine masculine within my father's bloodline because I'm creating this beautiful son, boy, that is trusting in his soft side, that's trusting in his inner self, that expresses himself, that's not afraid to say how he feels, that's not afraid to cry, that's not afraid to trust in his magic. And I know that that's all because of me opening up to that concept of healing the masculine over the feminine. So I share that with the circle tonight because I think that it's important to open yourself up to all concepts of healing. I think a lot of times men start to think about healing their paternal line and women start to think about healing their maternal line. I think it can be crisscrossed, vice versa, both, because this is the age of Aquarius that we are moving into. Pluto is shifting into Aquarius. It's going to be there for the next 20 years. Power, control, the underworld, our bloodline, even. I think it's going to be different now. It's going to be more open, more fluid, more airy. And we're going to open up to the concept of loving kind of all of this, both the masculine and the feminine, wherever we sit. So embrace whatever you're discovering on both sides of your bloodline. Within this new moon, there can be a lot to learn, a lot of wisdom to take in, a lot of gifts to accumulate or start to open up and cultivate within yourself. This is a good time to simply lighten yourself up, do things that bring you more pleasure and joy. This is also a time to set more intention around anything that you're desiring to grow into. So if you've got dreams planted, little dream seeds for the autumn, or maybe spring, if you're in the southern hemisphere or the other side of the world, start to nurture those. Decide if you really want to grow them. Really know what you want to get in the future. Because we're in between eclipses. We've got eclipse season coming up again in the spring. This is the time where everything with the magic happens behind the scenes. So as your behavior, your intention, your actions play out each day, make sure they're really playing out towards what you want to nurture and grow. I don't really have a particular practice for you tonight. We are in this portal of Samhain. I highly encourage you to go research more about the holiday if you don't know about it, or maybe Diwali or Diwali, depending how you pronounce it instead. But Samhain is a magical time. It is the true Halloween. It is perfect for a Scorpio new moon. And there is a lot to be um, taken in around this holiday. There's so much folklore. There's a lot of practices. There's a lot of celebrations. And a lot of them relate to Halloween. So it's almost like you can get a second Halloween tonight, even if you need that. We're keeping our Halloween decorations up all weekend to celebrate all of this like death stuff and really honor that in our household. But yeah, give yourself time to carve a pumpkin, which is your own little lantern to light, right? Give yourself an opportunity to start decorating for the holidays to dispel the darkness, or maybe just shine a little light and love on your past self in those cringy moments because they're no longer here. You're no longer that person. You are a lighter, more elevated person now, and that's what matters. I want to move on to our tarot reading for the collective, and then we'll dive into the 13 moon stuff because I figured we would probably be here a couple of hours with 13 moons. Here on the collective, if you're doing replay though, should be about an hour-ish that we're spending together. Trust in the tarot right now if you do read cards, or if you get readings, maybe get a reading, because the veil is so thin and we're getting communication on multiple levels. Trust in all of the signs that you see, anything that you believe in that's kind of your totem. Really trust in that because there are going to be a lot of symbols and signs coming in different ways to you. Let's talk about the past card that I pulled. It is the only reverse card I pulled. And remember, we just moved out of eclipse season and a lot of retrograde stuff. Two of Pentacles reversed. This is from the Crystal Power Tarot, by the way. And so this comes with a message. It says, I calmly make the best possible decision. And it's represented by malachite. However, this is in reverse, which is a protective message. And I believe this is talking about what I just said, looking into our past, thinking about the choices we made, the behavior we carried out, the version of ourselves that we were living out at that time. And it might have not been the best one, or it might have not been the choice that we would have made now, but maybe we couldn't make that choice now because maybe we wouldn't be able to. Maybe it took going what we went through to know what we know now, to hold that hindsight. So this Two of Pentacles reversed reminds you to find the wisdom even in those times in the past when you didn't make the best choice or you weren't the best version of yourself. Malachite is a heartstone. It's green, related to heart chakra, but also it helps to enhance your ability to beautify the shadow, beautify the past. So remind yourself to shine light, love, and forgiveness on any version of the past, any wounds, any experiences, so that you can shed yourself of that emotional attachment that holds you back from becoming even a more elevated being in the future. Next two cards are upright. For the present, I received the Five of Wands with garnet as the stone, and it does say, I stand my ground and look for peace. So we're in this Libra ruled energy from the Eastern perspective, which is all about peace and standing ground and rooting in windy, challenging times, Swati Nakshatra. And also, this new moon in Scorpio might help us to really focus our energy where we want to when it comes to embracing the truest whole self that we are. Five of Wands gives us a lot of options, a lot of opportunity, a lot of choices, and maybe a lot of ideas, downloads, maybe a lot of aha moments. I've had a lot of those during this portal, but it's all for the positive of growth, right? It's all for us finding more of our more magical self. And notice how all these wands, they're pointing up right. They are encouraging us to grow into our magic and also into our joy. We've got all this orange and this yellow, which is very sacral and solar plexus energy. And sacral is surrounding with the orange, and we're in this watery new moon. And by the way, garnet is associated with both Scorpio energy and Aquarius. Aquarius, birthstone, and Pluto, Scorpio's ruling planet, is shifting into Aquarius during Scorpio season. So remind yourself that we're moving into a season of magic, of being more magical self, being a more whole, sorry, my nose is itching, being a more whole magical being, just as we are in our own crafts. And when we trust in that, we will have growth. And five in numerology does represent growth. Wands represent magic, craft, skill, joy, all that good stuff. For our future card, I pulled an upright two, the Two of Cups. This one has an aquamarine stone attached to it, which is another beautiful gemstone for healing, by the way. So we have the turquoise I suggested to utilize during a new moon in Scorpio, or anytime you're doing like Scorpio energy things. But aquamarine, which is also kind of that same color here on the card, right? It's another beautiful stone to help with overall generic healing, whatever that is. And remember, physical, energetic, emotional, they're all attached. So no matter what you're working on, there's going to be a cascade effect of the rest of it, the other layers, wherever it is. Cups represent us being abundant, being full of pleasure, being relatable, being successful, being magical, being expressive. And also, when we have the Two of Cups, these are about cooperative relationships. I think this is about being cooperative with our whole true self, masculine and feminine. This is about being whole to our whole bloodline, masculine and feminine, as I just mentioned earlier. I also do believe that this is about being more whole to the external collective and the collective being more whole and external to each other. We have a lot of division going on right now, but remember, this is the future card. And I think that in the future, we are going to be setting aside our differences more and more and coming more together for more collective causes. Hopefully it won't be anything negative like, the virus again, but I do think that there's going to be a time where we have to start thinking more about each other on the collective versus all these little individual sectors or individual division within all these little countries and states and communities even, right? Two of Cups reminds us that it is inevitable that we are going to have to come together. It's very age of Aquarius as well, very Pluto in Aquarius. Put down your guard, put down your power for the sake of all, Not saying to give up yourself and let people take advantage of you, but don't hold on to your ego so much, right? This does say, I am worthy of the deepest kind of love. I do think this is about acceptance of one another in our craft, in our magic, in our expressions, our feelings, ourselves. We're getting a lot more into the acceptance of all of these things that are going on with us emotionally. I love it. And I think there's more of that to come. This is what I have for you for this new moon in Scorpio for Samhain for Diwali. By the way, I find Diwali an interesting holiday because it kind of invites in all of the deities, no matter where you are. There's like stories of all of them, depending on where you are in India or how you celebrate. And there's also multiple cultures that celebrate Diwali. And this particular Diwali spans 2 days, which isn't always how it happens. It's just what's happening now with the Amavasya Tithi that it happens to arrive on. It's happening from Halloween or October 31st through November 1st, which is a little bit auspicious and unique. But there is, yeah, a lot of energy on the collective for death, transformation, evolution, the concept of dispelling darkness and ego and moving beyond that and becoming a better self, a more open self. So embrace that. Embrace everything that this moon is about. New moons are not just for the new moon portal, they're also setting the standard for the entire lunar cycle. So this energy is going to be with us the entire month. I love that we have a new moon on the first of the month. And we will have that next new moon in Sagittarius coming up towards the 1st of December as well. So embrace this month of November and make it a no nonsense November, no negativity November, no past mindset, limiting mindset, glass ceiling November, whatever you want to call it. No toxicity November, no energy vampires November. Lots of different options there. This is our time coming to an end with our collective. If you are here in 13 moons, we are going to continue on now. I hope that you have enjoyed this moon circle. If you're seeing all these cards in front of me and you're just flashing forward to the replay, we just did a collective 12 card pull for the year ahead for Samhain in the 13 Moons membership. And I'm going to write about this. I'm not sure if I'm going to publish it on my website. I think I'm going to keep this exclusively for members, but you do have a free trial that you can access when you join any option in the membership. If you want to check that out, is on my website. But I thank you for being here tonight. I hope that you are encouraged to trust in your magic right now. I hope you're also supported to heal anything in your own life or your bloodline that you're ready to heal and change. The veil is thin. You have a lot of power. Pluto is shifting, and we are becoming much more fiery to move forward confidently towards the changes that we desire and the transformation that we want to lean into. Trust in the change that comes your way over the next few weeks. Trust in the challenges that you are blessed with, for they help you to become more flexible. And maybe they shift you in a direction that you need to go that you wouldn't normally shift into. Trust in your guides and guardians. They're here because they're always here, but the veil is especially thin now, and they are here probably even more present than before. You probably feel them, call on them, invite them in. And with that being said, I'm actually going to leave our guides and guardians of the 5 elements, the 5 directions with our circle tonight. If any need to leave, they will. Otherwise, I invite them to stay with us with this whole lunar cycle ruled by Scorpio, where we connect to all of that that is not of us. We thank you for your presence. We thank you for your protection. We thank you for your gentle guidance and spiritual energetic nudges. We work to follow them the best we can in our human nature. Thank you all for being in the circle tonight. We will meet again in the 13 Moons membership live on Thursday, November 14th. to honor the full supermoon in Taurus, which I think might be pretty important to tune into after doing this card pull with all of this cow energy showing up, Taurus energy showing up at Taurus times next year. We'll talk all about it in the membership. We'll do some magical practices, of course, and some other things as well. Tarot card pulls for members. And if you want to be a part of that live or get that exclusive card pull, you can join the membership with a free trial or just join the membership and support my services and offerings in my business during this time as we move into the holidays. Blessed be in this Samhain portal. Blessed be with this Scorpio new moon. Blessed be to all. Loka, somasta sukino bhavantu. May we all be happy. May we all be healthy. May we all feel safe. May we all know peace. May we all feel love, be loved, love one another. May our actions, intentions, behavior contribute to the health, the happiness, the safety, the peace, the love of all. And so it is. And so it already is. And so it mote be. Blessed be. I'll see you soon.